Advisory Board. And I know that the attorney has, in fact, worked on that language with the clerk, and that language may be available. We might hear from the city attorney. Madam Mayor.
Yes. Mrs. Bloom?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And one of the things that I was working on, there was some research that needed to be done on Chapter 9, which was the Library Advisory Board, and what to do with that. You do have the ability to eliminate the Library Advisory Board if you so choose, and ordinance amendments can be presented at a subsequent meeting. What we would need is a resolution from this body that directs us to bring that back. In addition, there were part of the resolution items tonight that were removed would be Chapter 12 is the Historical Commission, and since the museum is now run by a nonprofit group, certainly would probably make sense to delete Chapter 12, which would eliminate the Historical Commission. But just as with the Library Advisory Board, a resolution of this body would be appreciated, and then we can bring the ordinance amendment language back very quickly, even at the next meeting, if that's the desire of City Council. And then as far as Chapter 13, which is the Historic District Commission, we still need to keep the Historic District Commission. That is, we do have resources that fall within that. But there's at least one reference to the Historical Commission. So if you're going to eliminate the Historical Commission, you'll need to make some amendments. Additionally, there are some other amendments that City Manager's Office has brought forward, which deal with just correcting language from changes that have been made previously with the planning director positions and the building officials. So all of those can be presented as early as your next meeting, but what management has indicated is that they need a resolution of council directing us to bring that forward.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Madam Mayor, I'm wondering if there's a sample resolution that we might use.
We have?
I have one that I can use, yes. We can use the resolution that was used previously to dissolve other boards. We can substitute that resolution in to be used for the Library Board and the Historical Commission if you wish.
Madam Mayor, I'm wondering if the city attorney, if that's what you were asking for.
One of the resolutions that you could put forward is a resolution to direct us to bring forward language for your consideration that would delete the Library Advisory Board and/or Historical Commission. That would be an appropriate resolution.
And what about the amendments to Chapter 13? Don't we need to have that too?
Yes, if you amend Chapter 12, which is the Historical Commission, then it would be necessary to bring Chapter 13 as well. So you can include all of those in your resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I will move the resolution as stated by Ms. Bloom.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilman McGinnis, that we ask staff to bring forward resolution 12 as stated by Ms. Bloom. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilman McGinnis, that we ask staff to bring forward resolution 12 as stated by Ms. Bloom. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilman McGinnis, that we ask staff to bring forward resolution 12 as stated by Ms. Bloom. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilman McGinnis, that we ask staff to bring forward resolution 12 as stated by Ms. Bloom. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilman McGinnis, that we ask staff to bring forward resolution 12 as stated by Ms. Bloom. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilman McGinnis, that we ask staff to bring forward resolution 12 as stated by Ms. Bloom. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilman McGinnis, that we ask staff to bring forward resolu a resolution to delete Chapter 9. Is that correct? Is it? Change it.
Delete Chapter 12
Delete Chapter 12, excuse me.
and amend Chapter 9.
Amend
and
Chapter 9 and Chapter 13. Excuse me, I had it wrong. Yes, okay. Discussion of the motion?
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman Beltramini?
I believe that we might be better served now that we have a dedicated millage for the library board to have a different kind of board. I am a little concerned that we leave it rudderless in the interim. And I guess I'd have to hear why that's okay. That's all.
Madam Mayor?
I think that it's important to do something with a different type of board now that we have dedicated knowledge for the library. And I think that there's an important factor about the strategic plan for the library, that it be a change in actually the kinds of things that the library board might be doing. And so that's why I think a change would be good. I really think that it can be done fairly efficiently. And as far as the Historical Commission, I think that really does not need really a lot of discussion, because we've already said, being that it's done privately now, that we don't need to have that in there. So those things and amending 9 and 13 would not be difficult. Further folks that haven't spoken on the item? Anyone? Because that's really what our rules say is, before I call on someone a second time, everybody has to have a chance and stuff like that. I think sometimes we forget that.
Mayor?
Councilman Slater?
I guess at this point, I don't have any problem with the resolution to bring the language back, and then I'd like to, for a couple of weeks, look at why we're doing it, but I don't have any problem with the resolution asking for it.
Councilman McGinnis?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was determined tonight that it needed to come back next week, or if we were making a decision on that. I mean, I definitely feel like it's important to keep the process moving. I understand why you need specific direction, but I know that we've had these conversations about this board and all of our our entire boards and committee structure. So I feel like this is the logical next step based on the discussions that we had in our study session meetings. If there's a reason that it can be next week or the following meeting, but I definitely would like to see us continue moving forward so we can wrap that up. So that's why I would support giving that direction.
Having a resolution brought forward will also give the opportunity for both Mrs. Rouse and Mrs. Bloom to express in a memo about why we would be doing this or what would be the changes that would be necessary, which would maybe answer what Councilwoman Beltrami was asking about. So for that, I think it would. Beneficial. Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Well, we had talked about, I think a number of times, the Lifelong Learning Committee, which came as a result of the Futures Project. It was almost 5 years ago now, and many people thought that that was an all-inclusive committee. That's been recommended to the library director, and I hope that as the strategic planning process moves in, that she will embrace the input from a number of stakeholders. Right now, our advisory board is 5. It would be good to really reflect a lot of members of the community, and then keep that there and let that committee work through a number of those things. That's an idea. It will be good to hear from the library director on where she would like to go.
Further discussion of the motion to have a resolution to have those items come forward?
Mayor,
Councilman Howernick?
it's not going to surprise anybody, but I think it's imperative that we have a library advisory board or a library board of some sort, and that it not be anything but the library, because I think the library, especially after everything that's happened in the last 18 months, is too important not to have its own board. That's all I have to say, and so I'll be voting against this resolution.
Further discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. Zerlake?
just for clarification. Staff is asking the governing body to decide if you want to have a library board, much like the issue. Want to have Francis Center last week, yes or no? I think I'm asking you as your manager, do you want to have a library board, essentially, yes or no? The governing body is responsible for all the boards and committees. You decide the value of the community in that respect, and you go through the volunteers that you have, and you select whom you want to sit on boards. It's not incumbent per se on the library director or Mark Miller or the attorney or myself to say you should not have a board and do this instead. So what we're asking for, what I'm asking for, is with specificity. Do you want us to come back with a resolution saying expunge the library board and put something blank in its spot? Or do you want to keep the library board and have us work on what we want to do with a consultant for a strategic plan? I can tell you right now there's monies budgeted for that plan, and it would take more than a week to talk to a consultant about the best way to formulate a methodology to proceed for a plan for the library. And all I'm asking for is clarification on your committee.
Mayor,
Councilman Fleming?
I'm clear that I'd like to keep the library board, and that's that. I won't support this.
Further discussion of the motion? You folks ready for a vote on this? Councilman Slater?
No, maybe I'm still confused here. We're just asking for them to draft language to ask whether we want or we don't want.
Right.
Correct? We're not voting on whether to have a library at this time. Is that correct?
Yes, this confusion.
That's correct.
We're just giving direction to bring back a resolution. Is that correct?
Mrs. Bloom?
Mayor, if you have an alternate, the resolution that's on the table is directing me to come back with an amendment that would eliminate the Library Advisory Board. If that is not the consensus of a majority of this council, then it would be really helpful to have us know that now before we do the work to bring that back to you. So we'll do whatever this governing body wants to see happen, but I was charged with the responsibility of moving this forward, and that's what we're trying to do. It will be helpful if we have consensus so that we know which direction to go.
Actually, this resolution is encompassing the Historical Commission also.
It is.
So
It
it's
is.
a separate matter, but it's together here because of the chapters involved. Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilman McGinnis?
Well, I guess then just to articulate what I think is going on, I thought we actually had a discussion about the Library Advisory Board before, and I'm not saying that we were unanimous in our decision, but I thought there was some direction at least where we wanted to go. I can see, I think, why there's a little bit of an issue right now, because I think that direction was given that we want to change the way we're receiving input about that piece in the community, but we haven't figured out exactly what we want the new body to look like, and I think there's a little bit of concern about following through with the direction to change it. just as it was, but not yet have something in place. So I can understand that concern, and if that's the issue, my point is it's up here, we're having a discussion about it, and if that's what the actual consensus is, that there's a majority on council that wants to see it changed, or some of the discussions that we've had about it, something else in place, then we need to do whatever we need to do as a body to make sure that we're going forward with that and it doesn't just stop. But I thought that there was some consensus about changing the format when we had all the study sessions. And so if the real issue is we still want to move forward with how we're going to receive that information from the community or the stakeholders, people other than just residents, then that's fine. I can agree that maybe we should wait until we have something else in place. But I think we need to be clear on that, because at one point I thought there was a majority to do that, or not necessarily a majority, but there was consensus to do that.
Does it complicate things for the library if the board that gives information, looks at different things, is encompassing things broader than what the library board has done previously? In the lifelong learning, we're talking about some other kinds of things, and of course the library is all about lifetime learning. I'm just wondering if it complicates things, if there should be two committees or if there should be one. And I'd like to hear some expressions from other council members on that.
Too.
And the library director too, yes. Councilwoman Beltramini?
The library is a community gathering place and launching pad and hub for a whole lot of activities in the community. And as I said earlier, I believe that probably with a dedicated millage and a different look, and after they discuss a strategic plan and all of that, there will be a different look to the library. So it will need a different kind of board. If we eliminate the Library Advisory Board as it is described in Chapter 9, until the stakeholders and all have had their discussion and a strategic plan comes up, this council becomes the library board. I mean, that's the default position that we all have to be willing to live with. And, for 2 months, 6 months, that's probably okay. But we do need to know as we talk about a strategic plan for the library, we need to get input. We need to kind of flesh out in our minds what that looks like. And Councilman Howrylak may be exactly right. The people may say, no, we want just the library, just library programming, library collections. We just want to have input onto that. At which point, perhaps we reinvent a different board to have a broader focus for other things. But I guess I understand that we need a different kind of board, so I'm comfortable with that. But given the lack of a rudder, To be that rudder. That's where I am.
You folks want to hear from Mrs. Russ on this? Mr. Zerlag? She happens to be right here, and I think it'd be helpful if she had some information for us. Yes?
I guess if you don't mind repeating the question.
The question was, does it complicate things for the library to have a library board that is different, that encompasses maybe more than what the current library board does?
No, I don't think so. I think when the library did more programming, I tried very hard to work with the museum manager and the Parks and Rec manager and the Nature Center manager, so we would coordinate programming, so we didn't all plan events on the same day, or we didn't all have the same type of event, so we could have an array of activities for Troy residents to take part in, but not duplicate effort. And a lot of times we would partner with each other. So I guess I'm used to working like that to an extent. On the matter of input, I guess I just want to say that the library board is absolutely a good source of input from the community, but I receive input from the community every single day. Via email, people come to see me, they call me. It is not the only source of input that the community has to reach me or the library staff. We take in input all the time.
And you also get input from the Friends of the Troy Public Library, even though they're a separate 401c3 organization.
Yes, that's
still
correct.
have input, and they still are part of the whole development of the library.
Yes, that is correct. As a matter of fact, we exchange information because a lot of times patrons will come to me to ask about the Friends or the bookshop, or when is the bookshop going to be open, or a question about something to do with the Friends, and I pass that along to them. And likewise, the Friends come to me and say, you know, people want to know why you're not open on Saturdays, or, you know, what's happening with Kindles or that sort of thing. So there's definitely a flow of information there.
Okay. And how would you feel about being rudderless, or us being without having a library board in the interim while we figure this out?
Your Honor, Kathy.
I'm not trying to put her on.
If I may.
I'm putting her on the spot.
Yes,
I'm
I do.
sorry.
I'm sorry, but I think you are. And if I may,
I apologize.
I'm responsible for a lot of people in the organization. The governing body is responsible for the boards and committees and the volunteers thereof. You're not going to hear Kathy or Mark Miller or me, and possibly Lori, say, we don't need a library board.
Right.
You tell us if you want one. All right? All I'm telling you is that if you don't have one, I can't deliver a planning methodology in 2 weeks. I probably can't deliver it in 3 months. But we'll get there.
And I
Okay?
apologize.
And I wait for your decision.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Howard?
My sincerest gratitude to the city manager, because I think these really, actually, I know these are definitely policy issues, and I think we need to make sure we don't put you and your staff in a position of trying to dictate policy when it's our job to do that. So I appreciate that. One thing I want to throw out possibility is the perhaps keep the library board, but if effectively amend it into, if you want to have a lifelong
Learning.
thank you committee, that you effectively amend it into it. So and we also have the ability to appoint new people here. So if we're concerned about that we want to bring new blood onto it, that's not really an issue. If we don't want to have a gap, then I would say keep what we have and amend it into what we want. And that way we can give them new tasks as we think of new tasks, if you will. We may also want to consider having a larger board than 5 members, I would add as well. Perhaps 7 would be an effective board.
And I would be in agreement of the amending and having more people. I know that's going to take time to do, can't do it immediately, but, that is another option, so appreciate you mentioning that.
Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Again, when we looked at streamlining committees, it was actually the city manager who said one good way of measuring a committee's work is to look at the minutes. When you look at the minutes, it really was looking through the comments that were given to the library were read aloud at the meeting. Well, as the librarian just said, she was aware of the comments because she had read them. So we really want to be looking at, when we sat down and talked about the committees, about ways that not just to streamline, but be more effective, to be more dynamic. And if we know right now that the way that the current advisory board works isn't including all of those things. Which years ago were suggested through the futures. So I still would suggest that we go ahead and vote on this, bring it forward. We'll have 2 weeks to think about it. But we know we're not going to be able to reinvent the committee that we currently have to be that dynamic committee that we had talked about for months and months and months.
Good point. Any others? We have a resolution on the table, correct, Mrs. Bittner?
Yes, we do.
Can we have the vote, please?
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
No.
Councilmember Howrylak?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes. Motion passes. we had a suspension of the rules, so I guess we're back to council comments. Anybody have any council comments? Not,
Mayor?
Councilman Fleming.
Yes, I just want to go back to the public comment section, and I appreciate the chief getting up and shedding some light on the subject on Boyd Street, but my name was brought up. I just want to say, if a citizen calls me and has a problem, usually I respond. I try to dig into the problem. When I come to see you as a citizen, that doesn't mean I'm there to solve your problem. I'm there to help you bring attention, direct you to the right sources and so forth. In this case, it was brought to the attention of the school board and to the attention of the superintendent, the attention of the chief of police, and they have responded. There is a problem on Boyd Street with traffic. It's a very narrow... School buses are going there, traffic's going there. But rest assured, the appropriate authorities are doing their best to deal with it. Just because I show up and talk to you and try to understand your problem doesn't mean that I have the authority or would try to even assume or indicate that I would have the authority to solve your problem. But I will come and listen to you and hopefully bring some attention to it. But in this case, I know the people are very emotional. I understand that. This was their first time before council. So they come to speak, and they were very emotional. They were afraid for their children and so forth. But I think it is being addressed. I think that we have traffic police over there now looking at the speed. They're trying to redirect the buses. So rest assured, it is getting a lot of attention, even though it's not being resolved as quickly as these residents would like. But just because a council person or a policeman, for that matter, comes to address your concern, you're not going to get an immediate resolution, but it is a working process. So the citizens on that street, I just ask you to bear with us as we work through the proper authorities to deal with that and help alleviate your problem.
Since you brought it up, I guess I should respond to the fact that I was accused of not responding to Mr. Walters. However, if a call comes through and it is something that a certain department has to handle, lots of times I will refer, if it's on the city line, I will send it over so that it goes over to that department to handle. I don't recall a call from this family. However, I do agree that the staff handled it as appropriately, and that I'd like to also encourage citizens, if they have a matter such as that, their first step should be to contact the staff. Actually, coming to City Council on items such as that should be like a last resort. Many times things can be resolved, and I think there was some miscommunication there. And of course, I did not respond when he was speaking because that's part of our rules, that we let them have their 5 minutes, So that was unfortunate. I think that most people feel that we respond appropriately, and if it needs to go to a staff member instead of a council member, that's where it goes. We'll have one more council meeting before the firefighters open house, but we just received the information that it was going to be on Saturday, October 9th. So I just wanted to put it out there again that that's an opportunity for people in the community, and even some people in other communities come and see our wonderful fire department. So that is on Sunday the 9th, always an interesting time, and of course we do have a great department and should be very proud of them. Mr. Zerlang?
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you all for your earlier direction and as well as the comments made thereafter. I had a request to delay the study session item regarding police department staffing. I sent you all a memo, cited 5 reasons why we should play this. That said, we'll have a report from the police department relative to how we are performing in relation to the ICMA recommendations that were made for police department staffing. And in its place, I'd like to have a study session that talks about the successes we've had essentially and where we want to go next with our economic development initiative.
Is that for this evening?
No, that's for next week.
Next week, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I was hoping it was not for this evening.
No, nothing.
So, okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Mayor Protem Kerwin?
I'm very interested not only hearing about the police, but I'm also interested in hearing about the general ICMA impact on everything else in the City Hall. We know that there is a change agent working for a city manager, and sometimes when we come in the office we can see stuff going on behind there, but I haven't found anything. And I would value really that coming before us, an opportunity to have a dialogue with the city manager about the changes, particularly as we've talked about before, the cultural changes, transition, and even the organizational chart. We had a recommendation from ICMA for specifics on an organizational chart, and I'm not sure that that's fully implemented. And I want to understand the intention of whether that is to become implemented or not. So I would like to see that come before us as well.
I can't, this is an excellent suggestion. I'll be happy to do that. I can't do it next Monday, but I can do it the last meeting in October.
Okay. And again, it's really a dialogue, not necessarily a complete PowerPoint, but I think it's important that we know it is an accountability issue. People often ask us about the ICMA report and its impact. And it's kind of like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I thought we knew going forward. I thought I understood the organizational chart, but I don't see that fully implemented, so I'm confused.
Further discussion?
Yeah, just,
Mr.
and
Zerline?
if I may, just for a general outline of where we are with the ICMA report. We've essentially implemented many of the recommendations. We now have 5 sleeves or divisions that report to myself. Starting with the manager's office, I'm down to 3 employees, myself and 2 others. The first sleeve is economic and community development, and without giving a litany of what we've done there, that's essentially just about finished with all the changes that we've made. I'll give the litany in 2 weeks. The next sleeve essentially is the fire department, and that essentially had no substantial changes made to that division by ICMA. When you look at the cost of a volunteer/career department like we have, that's $4 million, and compared to other cities that have less assessed valuation that are upwards of $16 million, we are the most efficient department in the region. So that's 2 out of the 5 sleeves. The finance and administration sleeve, there is a slight delay on that because we essentially lost 2 of our top financial advisors, and I'm working right now with 2 consultants, and the auditors just came in today. I met them. They get younger looking every year. Once I get the finance division management essentially locked in, then we'll take a look at the recommendations ICMA made for the balance of those individuals. I'll be mentioning that in 2 weeks. The next sleeve is the public works area, and as mentioned in the ICMA report, I had cut so many positions in that department that they were unsustainable, so we had to add back 8 positions. Thank you very much for doing that. We also combined all maintenance functions in the public works area. We combined some administrative functions as a result thereof in public works, and we've cross-trained employees. We're more cost efficient and effective now than the private sector in terms of plowing snow with the 24-hour snow protocol. In about 2 weeks, I'll be having a contract from Brent Bear, RCOC, to have City Council approve the stipend they're going to give us, and there'll be some minor changes in cross-training and so forth for public works, but essentially that's pretty much out of the way as well. The last element is the police department, and as I mentioned in my report today, we'd like to have more time. I still have a concern with trying to find an accurate revenue line for the out years, but we'll give you an update for the police department as well, and that's a quick thumbnail sketch of where we are in the 5 divisions.
Thank you. Yes, I think Councilwoman Beltramini signaled just as you were signaling. Councilman Fleming, may I call on her first? Sure.
I'm glad to hear Mr. Zerlike talk about the county's snow removal contract, because I thought we had consensus last week that we were going to return to 24-hour protocol. We understood that the county says they're going into that. But it was important to this council to return to 24-hour protocol. That was the bottom line. And I am very concerned, I'm glad the snow's not going to fly in the next 2 weeks, that the budget in place and the last policy resolution on record both say 72 hours. So I would, at the very least, at the soonest opportunity, want a policy resolution that says that this council wants to return to 24-hour protocol. I think that would give our residents and businesses a fairly decent amount of comfort, because I think that is the position that we came to last Monday night. So,
And that can come before the contract comes, right?
yeah.
I can write something up
Okay, good.
now if you want to, essentially.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other items under council comments, Mrs. Blum?
Yeah, Mayor, not a council comment, but a administration comment. Just as far as the scheduling, I know that we wanted the opportunity to bring forward some of the benefits of having in-house counsel, and we wanted to bring that to City Council. I'm looking at the manager, and obviously, you know, there are things that are of great import as well, so I don't know as far as scheduling that. When would you like to have that?
Anytime.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Anytime.
I
Well,
was planning on doing it next week, but if you're doing the economic development, I'm not sure how much time you're going to have.
We're half an hour. I thought.
No, let's hear from her.
Okay.
That's what we want.
We could do them both.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Let's start with Councilman Fleming.
Yes, I would just like to say a big thank you to Zion Community Church and North Woodward Community Foundation and all the Troy Family Days volunteers. I saw all the council was there for the opening and saw some of you there during the event. As far as I'm concerned, it was a huge success. I just really want to thank all the volunteers and the people because, and hopefully they'll do it again next year. Indications are that feedback I got that they will do it again next year. Just goes to show what volunteers can do. In the past, we've had the city do it, but these volunteers and groups stepped up, and as far as I'm concerned, from everything I saw, it was a huge success. People were having a great time, and if there was a problem, I'm not aware of it. So, again, thank you to all those people who worked so hard and so diligently to make that a success. A lot of work went into that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Well, the City of Troy is a member of SEMCOG, Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. And as a member, we have the opportunity to do some online learning. And there was a webinar last week, EVIP webinar. I tried to forward the PowerPoint to the city manager's office, but it's too big, and it was rejected. However, I would encourage my colleagues on council and then our community members at large to go to semcog.org and look at webinar, and it's the EVIP webinar. And I just want to share a couple things about it with you. One thing that was included, one slide I think is important, is impact on municipalities of changes. And I've got notes, and then I want to do one more slide. But one is the impact we've seen: a property tax collection dropping 30 to 50%, state and federal funding cuts, services being curtailed or eliminated, office hours restricted and furlough days, pay and benefit concessions, layoffs, early retirements, capital expenditures cut, infrastructure deteriorating, selective millage and fee increases, collaboration and shared services pursued. All of those things were on the slide, and all of those things are things that we have done. The emphasis on the webinar, again, it's webinar EVIP, the emphasis was on collaboration. And on every study, and it shows it during the course of this, collaboration is the choice of community. How do you want to address these issues? The choice of community members throughout the region is use collaboration. But collaboration demands effective leadership. And some signs of effective leadership include stakeholder input solicited. Now, we've done that this year, but we really did have to push to see that the community conversations took place. And again, on the idea of creating the strategic plan, to have that full stakeholder input, and in terms of the lifelong learning, to have that stakeholder input solicited. We need to hear from all. Full disclosure and transparency, something that this council talks about at the table and is one of our goals. Willingness to collaborate. Performance measurement. This is our accountability. And that's why we bring up ICMA. Benchmark gaps identified, the cultural change, financial planning, dynamic leadership, and communication. That's effective leadership, and that's what we've been striving for. Ineffective, hidden agendas, ineffective management, the not invented here attitude, razor approaches across the board cuts, and this is what we've heard from some folks, just do it 10%, ineffective leadership, stops and starts, we're going to go in this direction, not so much, poor fiscal skills, a fragmented board, and denial. And I think, again, these are just a couple slides. I think we can all learn from those going forward, and we would hope that members of the community would look at this as well. It's available to all, but I found it very interesting. I want to share it with you. Perhaps I'll email Beth, and then she can try to get the link, but this wouldn't go through.
Okay.
Thank you.
One more point for clarification on the 24-hour snow plowing policy. If I give you something next week, it should be contingent upon a contract with the Road Commission for Oakland County, and then I'll come back 2 weeks later and ink the deal, because having Mr. Baird tell me he's going to do it and having the deal inked are two different realities. Okay? But I'll be happy to bring it back next week saying we're going to go to a 24-hour snow protocol contingent upon receiving funding from the Road Commission for county major roads. And then the following week I'll have a contract.
Madam Mayor.
And if we don't get a contract from them,
Well, then you're going to have to find the money to have a 24-hour snow protocol on county major roads.
then there's other things. I just... hopefully we're going to get it and it'll be fine. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Might we suspend the rules? I mean, that was a simple, his phrasing was quite simple on that. He said that he could do a simple thing. Might we not suspend the rules and go ahead and pass this tonight? I think we expected it to be before us tonight.
I did.
Okay?
I can't control the speed of which the Road Commission for Oakland County sends us a contract.
So I move to suspend the rules to consider having a policy in place regarding our new 24-hour response.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilwoman Beltramini, that we suspend the rules. Discussion of the suspension. The vote, Mrs. Bittner?
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard-Wack?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Motion passes. What resolution would you like brought forward?
Well, I think the manager actually phrased one. If you'd like to phrase it again, we can
Sure.
adopt it.
If I'm talking too fast, Eileen, you can stop me anytime, all right?
Okay.
It would be resolved that the Troy City Council hereby reinstates the 24-hour snow removal protocol for the entire roadway network in the city of Troy, all major and local streets, following the stoppage of a 4-inch snowfall, and that this policy is contingent upon an agreement executed between the City of Troy and the Road Commission for Oakland County, whereby the Road Commission provides the City of Troy $250,000 for its of plowing county major roads.
So
I would move
moved.
that resolution.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by, who seconded?
I thought I
Councilwoman
moved it, but,
Beltramini, that we approve the resolution as stated by the city manager. Discussion of the motion?
Madam Mayor? That's one more example of collaboration, and we talked about it, and that's really what people like to see, so it's good.
Vote, Mrs. Bittner?
Councilmember Howard-Wack?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Motion passes. Any other items to come before us? We're in adjournment.